Elves in Tolkien's world were meant to be the perfect beings of Arda, immortal, beautiful, and wise. But their immortality was not a gift. It was a burden that shaped their history, their tragedies, and ultimately their fading. This is why immortality slowly broke the elves, from within. Hello everyone, and welcome to Storyteller's Codex. Here we delve deep into the rich lore of the Lord of the Rings, a song of ice and fire, and the vast worlds beyond. On this channel, we blend the soothing power of cutting-edge technology with the timeless knowledge of dedicated storytellers. That's us, the voices behind the Codex. Settle in, relax, and enjoy. Elves do not experience life the way men do. They are bound to Arda itself, meaning their spirits remain tied to the world until its very end. They cannot leave its fate. They cannot escape its doom. When an elf dies, their spirit travels to the halls of Mandos, where they wait, sometimes for centuries, before being re-embodied and returning to life. Death for an elf is not an ending, it is a pause. Humans, by contrast, leave the world entirely. Their souls go beyond the circles of the world to a destination unknown even to the Valar. This difference creates the single greatest divide between the children of Ilúvatar. Elves are tied to Arda's fate. Humans are free from it. This changes everything. An elf knows that no matter what happens, war, loss, tragedy, their spirit will return. Their existence does not end. But it also means they must endure the world's every wound, every sorrow and every failing, for as long as the world itself survives. They do not fear death, they fear time, and time is the quiet corruption of the elves. The Undying Lands are not heaven, they do not grant immortality, they simply preserve the immortality that elves already possess. Valinor does not stop an elf from suffering, it only slows the decay of the spirit. It shields them from the constant change, the erosion, and the heartbreak of Middle-earth. Elves were created to exist in harmony with the world as it was meant to be, not the world Morgoth damaged. Morgoth's corruption seeped into every grain of Arda. Because elves are tied to Arda's fate, his corruption affects them permanently. Every sorrow deepens. Every loss leaves a lasting mark. Every war compounds the weight of their memories. Humans forget. Elves remember. This is why they fade. Their bodies remain young, but their spirits accumulate centuries of grief. And this leads to one of Tolkien's most subtle truths. Elves go west not because they seek reward, but because they seek relief. If the Undying Lands were a refuge, why did the elves ever leave? Because immortal beings also desire purpose, and Middle-earth offered something Valinor did not. The freedom to rule, to create, and to shape the world as sovereign peoples. The Noldor in particular were restless. They learned from Orly and gained a love for craft, knowledge and mastery. They wanted more than eternal bliss in a land where change did not exist. Valinor was perfect, but that perfection became a cage. The desire for autonomy, the pride of creation, and the ambition to rule their own destiny drove the Noldor into exile. This is why Feanor forged the Silmarils. This is why the Noldor defied the Valar. This is why they crossed the Helcaraxa and spilled blood in pursuit of a land where their achievements could matter. Elves were not content to remain in paradise. They wanted a story, a struggle, a future. But immortality turns every victory into a memory, and every memory into a weight. As ages passed, Middle-earth changed. The light of the two trees was lost, the world reshaped by cataclysm, magic retreated from the land, and the dominion of men grew. Elves felt these changes directly. They were designed to exist in a world overflowing with divine energy, a world that no longer exists. After thousands of years, they could no longer sustain themselves spiritually. Their fading is not physical, it is metaphysical. Lothlorien remains bright only because Galadriel channels her ring's power. Rivendell persists through Elrond's will. Remove their guardians, and these places lose their light. Elves are not dying, they are becoming invisible to the world because the world is no longer suited for them. As magic leaves Middle-earth, so do the elves. Immortality seems like the ultimate blessing, until you examine its consequences. Elves cannot forget trauma. They cannot escape loss. They cannot step away from history. They live through every era, every war, every mistake. Their immortality traps them inside a world that is no longer made for them. Humans adapt. Dwarves rebuild. Even hobbits change with time. Elves endure, but endurance eventually becomes exhaustion, and so they fade. Not because they grow weaker, but because the world grows further away from what they were meant to be. The decline of the elves is the decline of the world itself. When elves sail west, they are not fleeing Middle-earth. They are returning home. They return to a land where time cannot wound them, where memory does not erode the spirit, where the weight of ages is lifted, if only slightly. Their departure marks the end of the Elder Days, and the true beginning of the Age of Men. Human mortality becomes the future. Human choice becomes the driving force. The world belongs to those not bound to its fate. Middle-earth becomes a world of history, not myth. The elves did not fall to evil. They fell to time, and time, for immortal beings, is the cruelest enemy of all. Elves were created to live in a perfect world. When that world broke, their immortality became a burden instead of a gift. They could not forget. They could not adapt. They could not escape the fate of Arda. Their fading is not a tragedy of weakness, but a tragedy of purpose. The world changed. They did not. And in that mismatch lies the quiet corruption that slowly broke the firstborn children of Ilúvatar. If you are interested in The Lord of the Rings or A Song of Ice and Fire, click one of the links on the screen to dive deeper into the lore. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time.